This episode of Bulls Talk, we're going to be talking about the Bucks-Bulls game last night. The Bulls pulling out a victory. We're also going to be talking about the 5-game road trip that the Bulls are going to find themselves in the middle of pretty soon. We also got a new feature to the site that we're going to be talking about. And we're going to give you a preview of the upcoming Bulls schedule. And it's all coming right at you right now. It's Bulls Talk on Pippen Ain't Easy Radio Network. Welcome to Bulls Talk, this edition of Bulls Talk on Pippen Ain't Easy Radio Network. We've got a few things to talk about today. No Bulls game tonight. Bulls are off. Bulls pick up action again tomorrow against the Washington Wizards. The second game of a 5-game road trip that the Bulls find themselves in the middle of. Last night was the first game of the 5-game road trip, and they played the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, it's no secret that the Bulls are not road warriors. They're not a team who has had any luck this season on the road. They're 14-13. Well, now they're 14-13 on the road because they beat the Bucks last night, 83-75. They almost lost, too, so it was kind of scary. It was getting a little nerve-wracking there, but they pulled away with it at the end, which is beginning to become a common theme among Bulls games this year. 83-75, they beat the Bucks in Milwaukee last night. The Bulls are now 40-17, 14-13 on the road, too, so they're above 500 again. Now, last night, it was kind of a three-headed monster for the Bulls, because you had Luol Deng, who had another great night, and channeling that Heat game where he just exploded in that second half. He had 19 points in 38 minutes on the court. Derrick Rose, he finished very close second in the points category, because he was 17 points. So, I mean, not a really productive night for Derrick Rose last night, because usually Rose, who's the one who is lighting up the statistics and lighting up the scoreboard. But Derrick Rose did have the steal of the night, and here's the call from this. This is the Fox Sports Wisconsin on the call from the Bucks and Bulls, the Derrick Rose's big steal of the night.
Just don't want to fear putting them on the line. Bad pass right out the Dillon. Rose.
See, those types of passes are costly from every angle. You just lit the building up in the Bucks fans. They ignite their own team. So
he had that, but the big performer of the night was Joakim Noah, because he's just been lights out these past games that he's been back. He 17 rebounds last night for Noah, 8 points, 2 assists. He had a steal and 3 blocks. So Noah, I mean, he's just playing absolutely insane. The guy can't do any wrong, it seems. And it took a little bit of time for maybe him to adjust back in to what the Bulls were running, because he'd been out for so long. But obviously, it's not taking too long for him to get his footing on the court again, because he grabbed his 10th rebound of the night right before the midway point of the second quarter. There was like 2:34 left in the half, and Noah had 9 offensive rebounds. So that's just a little snippet of what he can do when because I don't think he's operating at 100% still. I still think his finger in his hand is giving him a little bit of problems. Naturally, too, because his job is to be on the basketball all the time. And if you have a hand injury, that's going to hinder you just a little bit. So I still don't think Joakim Noah is operating at 100%, which is great. Because if this isn't him operating at 100%, I can't wait to see what him at 100% is going to be. So that was the Bulls' night last night. The bench kind of got in on the action, too. Kyle Korver had 11 points, but he was part of the big turning point of the game, because the Bucks had gathered some momentum in the fourth, and they had a jumper by Earl Boykins and a three-pointer by John Salmons, the former Bull, and that pulled them to 78-72, and there was like 3:56 left in the game. Coach Thibodeau called the timeout and really got into the players' faces, as you could see. I mean, he was livid, rightfully so, because the defense, it can't be this hot and cold that it's been. It can't be absolutely in shambles against the Toronto Raptors and give up 118 points, and then come back the next game and just dominate the Heat in the second half, although they were in shambles in the first half, and then come back against a way subpar team compared to the Heat and just play the way that they were playing. So he got into their faces, and when the Bulls came out of the timeout, Kyle Korver drilled a three-point off of the driving kick from Derrick Rose, and the Bucks never got closer than that 8 the rest of the night. So that was Kyle Korver. He had 11 points, but he had the deciding little turning point in the game last night. So after the Bulls got it together, really, I mean, they started to pull away with it. And it wasn't really until there was like almost 3.5 minutes left in the game, I mean, when Kyle Korver hit that three, that the Bulls really started to close out the game. So, and that was against the Bucks, and that's going to be something they have to work on. But Luol Deng was one of the players of the game, 19 points. He had the game high. Joakim Noah pulled down 17 rebounds. The Bulls continuing their push to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Which brings us to our next topic of conversation, which is the Eastern Conference. The Heat were off last night. They have the big showdown tonight against the Knicks, which is on ESPN, I believe. So you can catch that, because the Bulls gained a half game on the Heat, just because the Heat didn't play. And they almost gained a full game on the Celtics, because the Celtics, after trading away Kendrick Perkins, which the more I think about it, the more I understand it. I mean, the guys are getting old. They want a youth movement, so they're bringing Green from Oklahoma City, and he's going to be a nice partner with Rajon Rondo. So I understand what the Celtics are trying to do there, but they lost out of the gates their first game after making that trade against the Nuggets. And then they almost lost last night against the Clippers, so that would have made a complete 2-game leap that the Bulls made on the Celtics. But as it stands right now, the Celtics still have a game on the Bulls, and the Heat still have a half game on the Bulls. Now, the Heat lose tonight, then everything's going to change with that. But the Bulls also have a chance to kind of control their own destiny here, because they're preparing for the second game of their 5-game road trip, which is tomorrow, Monday night against the Wizards in Washington. And then they go down to Atlanta. And then the final 2 games of the road trip are the 2 biggest games, not only of the road trip, but probably of this stretch of the schedule, because you go to Orlando to play the Magic on Friday night, and then you go down to Miami, and play the Heat on Sunday. And both of those games are on national television. Friday, the Orlando Magic games on ESPN and ESPN3.com. And you also have, on Sunday night, the Miami Heat Bulls game is the ABC Sunday night game. Or Sunday day game, I should say, because that's at 1 o'clock. So Magic, ESPN, 7 o'clock on Friday. Heat game, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on ABC. So those 2 games are going to be really, really telling of what the Bulls are going to be like the rest of the season, because they're hot off of that win against Miami. And now if they can get something going against the Magic and beat the Magic, who are they're really kind of falling. The Magic really aren't the force that they were when they played the Bulls back in December. Magic are kind of retreating down the seeding line, especially with the Knicks making a move. I mean, that's going to be really big. I think there's going to be some flip-flopping around there. So if the Bulls can get something done against the Magic, that's going to give them some momentum going into the Heat game, which the Heat are going to want to win more than you can imagine. I mean, they're 0-2 against the Bulls. They've only won 1 game against contending teams, so the Miami Heat are absolutely not doing well at all against contending teams. So the Heat really are going to want that game. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Bulls manage that game. But we're going to be breaking that down later in the week. The thing that is most important right now is going to be how the Bulls manage this road trip, because they have Washington, Atlanta, Orlando, and Miami. 5-game road trip, and the Bulls, not a good road team. 14-13 on the road, as we said. So that's what's going on with the Bulls. Now, we're going to end the show now with a little bit of news about the site. We have a new section that we're introducing. It's all about the D-League, all about the developmental league, because really it's kind of like the minor league. It's basically the minor leagues. What the minor league baseball is to MLB, the D-League is really to the NBA. Because C.J. Watson, who's on the Bulls, he came from the D-League. We got a lot of guys coming from the D-League. Zach Herring, one of our new writers, is in charge of the D-League. He's the D-League guy. So there's a entirely new section about it, mainly covering the Iowa Energy, which is the Bulls affiliate. It's the Bulls and the Suns. They share that affiliate. A lot of news covering the Iowa Energy. Also, you'll see the by the numbers articles in there, game day breakdowns, standing breakdowns, statistical breakdowns, everything you could want about the Iowa Energy, you can now find at Pippen Ain't Easy. So, best of both worlds. You got the Bulls, you got the D-League, everything that you want, all in one spot. Now, we're going to be coming back with another episode tomorrow. We're going to be breaking down the game against the Wizards. We're also going to be talking about a couple other things regarding Derrick Rose. We have some Joakim Noah stuff we're going to want to talk about, and the explosion of Luol Deng. Finally, I've been waiting for Luol Deng to explode into the player that he can be. So we're going to be talking about the Bulls-Wizards. We're going to be talking about the big three that the Bulls are forming now. Big four that the Bulls are forming. Everybody else wants a big three. Bulls are getting a four-headed monster going here. So we got all that coming at you tomorrow. It's Bulls Talk on Pippen Ain't Easy Radio Network.